How we doing? I've been slacking on my outdoor reviews, and if you've been waiting for one, I want to apologize. Hopefully I've got a good one here for you today. We're back out in the Willamette National Forest, not far from where we did Avo Nice Shave. That was where I was on that bridge. Follow the trail that's behind you in front of me, and it's up there, not too far, half a mile or so. Got you guys on my tripod. I have a mirror right here to my right. Going to apply the ice tube. That's the Ice Cube 2.0 in a travel jar. Crabapple and Newton is an homage to Crabtree and Evelyn from the 1980s. I'm not familiar with that company or that brand or their fragrances at all. This is also an homage to Isaac Newton. And if we look here on the label, Sir Newton was famous for his 3 laws of motion, and so that's why we see his legs here are in motion as he's climbing the tree. So he had the first law, the second law, and the third law of motion. The third law would be for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So Mr. Newton is in motion on that label. And if you look closely off to the side there, you will see Mr. Douglas Smythe. Full disclosure, right up front. The soap and splash were sent to me for review by Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements. I did not pay for it. I've used it about 5 times. This should be my 5th or 6th shave with it. Been wearing it on the back of my hand for, 5 or 7 days. I love this fragrance. My girls aren't super crazy about that. We'll talk about that a little bit more. One more thing to get some more full disclosure out of the way while I get this going. If you use the Phoenix Artisan links in the description, those are affiliate links. And what I mean by that is I will earn a commission from anything that you purchase using that link. And it is greatly appreciated. I like to be fully transparent with everything I do. So that's that. Let's get into it. I have here a Hendrix Classics & Co. handle, but in it I have a 24mm Stygian knot that is a Phoenix Artisan accoutrement knot. And if you have the Amber Aerolite, that is what this is, the 24mm. And then in the Star Wisp, you'll find this knot, but in a 26mm. You can also buy the knots separately, which is what I did for like $8.95, I believe it is. And that's the same price for the 24mm or the 26mm. I really liked how it looked in this handle, and so that's why I went with it. And you can get these handles from Hendrix Classics on their website. The fragrance. So right up front, before I get into the notes, let me say this. If you're familiar, these are all Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements that I'm going to talk about. 11235, Fresco, and Thought Forms. If you're familiar with either of those fragrances, you might be able to get a little bit of an idea of what this fragrance smells like. I think, to me, in a lot of ways, it's a combination of all 3. 11235, Fresco, and Thought Forms. Now, it's its own unique fragrance, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. And for me, this is the absolute, quintessential summer fragrance. It is refreshing and invigorating. Let's talk about the top notes real quick while I start building a lather on my face. This is the Captain's Choice Obsidian Bowl. Got my mirror to the right, I said that right, my stool over here to the left, and my notes right here to the right. So on the top we have citrus, pine, and eucalyptus. In the middle, we find spice, ginger, and floral. And then the base is wood, oak moss, sandal, and patchouli. And so in the top, what you're going to find, and let me reiterate something I talked about too. Fragrances are deeply personal. So what resonates for me may differ for you. But I'm going to do my best to tell you what it is that I smell and what I detect. And these are also things that I talked about, especially with my wife over the last week or so that I've had this fragrance. I've had it for a little while now, about a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. It's now Friday. I hope to have it up. It dropped this morning. This is now available. So in the top, what we pick out, what I especially pick out, is this refreshing, invigorating, zesty, and zesty, cooling, and slightly minty fragrance. That is the top. This fragrance doesn't develop a whole lot as it dries down. There is a little bit of a change, but for the most part, what you get in the beginning is what you're going to have in the end. There are subtle, slight nuances and some notes that shine a little bit more throughout the course of the dry down. The 4 stages: the top, middle, base, and then the dry down. The dry down is the 4th and final stage that you will wear all day long. As we work our way into the middle of this fragrance, you run into that spice in the ginger. Ginger is a warm and spicy note, and mixed with the spice note, you get a sharp, invigorating, slightly sweet spice note. It is perfect. Absolutely perfect. And right now with this menthol, man, it's like 85 degrees out here, upper 80s, somewhere in there. This is like a perfect summer scent. It's right up there with Casa Perfecto. Casa Perfecto came out earlier this year from Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements. 11235 is back. And then this one, those 3 fragrances are 3 that I would highly recommend for summer, including this one. Casa Perfecto, 11235, and this here, Crabapple and Newton. I have the Ascension Select loaded with a first use platinum strangelet. I have it tightened down all the way. Let's loosen it a quarter of a turn, about another quarter of a turn. I like it. This is an adjustable razor. It's the twist adjustable. That's all I'm going to say about it. Forgetting the floral. So the floral, this is not a floral fragrance, but what you will find is a vibrant floral that is light and well balanced. I love the floral note in this one. And if you're familiar with my content, I'm not a big floral guy, but the floral in this is perfect. Both my DOGs are right here behind me. As we work our way into the base, we run into these amazing wood notes. And as the wood notes that really carry this fragrance for me and just make it a perfect, well-rounded summer fragrance, the rich and lightness of whatever that wood note is that they're using, mixed with the, oak moss, sandalwood, and patchouli. It's rich and warm, not overly woody in any way whatsoever. This is just an overall well-blended, perfect fragrance that Doug and Fran created themselves in their laboratory. And that's one of the things that I love about Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements, is that they make their fragrances. I don't love all of their fragrances, but I love most. And this is one that I highly recommend to anyone looking for a summer fragrance that is unique, invigorating, and refreshing with a spice note. That spice note helps keep it masculine, along with the woods, of course, in the base. The patchouli, I never really pick out what I would call a patchouli note. I think that it is just there, helping the fragrance to last longer. I'm drawing a brain fart on the word that I'm looking for that. I have applied the Outdoorsman Friend. That's from the Splash. The bugs aren't too bad. We've had a couple of biting flies, call them horse flies, but it's too early in the day for mosquitoes. The sun is still too high. Feels good to be back outside doing an outdoor shave. Douglas is still in Spain on his pilgrimage. He's done that the last few years. I've been wanting to do a review of Solstice and then the 4 Jim. I actually spoke with Jim Judy, who the Amplify 3K was originally done for. Summer is always very well welcomed, but always busy, which is a good thing, right? That cold water feels good on my face. Got a boar brush video that I need to put together this weekend. I want to do a couple more brush reviews. Oh, beautiful fragrance. The only review of this that I've watched so far is Matthew's. PAA did send this out to a handful of people. If you're on the fence, I highly recommend checking out the other reviews of it. Don't forget the $1.25 samples. The samples should be on the website too. This fragrance has gotten the whole treatment from what I could see. The deodorant, the solid cologne, Star Jelly. I want to buy the Star Jelly and the deodorant. Maybe the solid. I could go with the third pass, but I'm not going to. Let's steal a little bit though from right here. The advantage of having a beard. There we go. That's better. Got my towel right here below you guys. You guys ready for a little story? So, for those of you who don't know, I drive a transit bus up and down the freeway. I start at the Eugene Amtrak station, and then I drive to the Albany Amtrak station, the Salem Amtrak station, up to the Portland Union station. I have a lunch break, and then I do everything in reverse. Come back home. On Monday of this past week, you never know, when things can go sideways. And you always keep an eye out for the people that you think would be like a troublemaker, but sometimes the troublemakers are the people that you would not expect to be the troublemaker. And that's what happened on my Monday. So on Monday, I leave Eugene to start my day. Got about 30 passengers on board. I drive a 2020 45-foot long Volvo. And did I say 25 foot? It's 45 feet. It's a 2020. And so I got about roughly 30 people on board. And when I'm coming into Albany, I have 9 people boarding. And at all the Amtrak stations, Amtrak customer service representatives come out and greet us, help us with luggage, help us with passengers, anything and everything that we might need help with or that a passenger might need help with. The service that we do is a partnership between the state of Oregon and the federal government, Amtrak, to create an intercity transit system. Galactic Witch Hazel from Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements. I've been using that in place of the alum. And so no one was getting off, if I recall correctly. I get out and I start assisting the first 2 people who were in line. And about that time, I won't say her name here in the video. Not that it really matters, but I won't say the Amtrak employee's name. It's a middle-aged female. I love her. She's a great lady to work with. I work with the Amtrak employees more than my own co-workers because I go to the yard, pre-trip my bus, get in the bus and drive away. So I don't spend a whole lot of time with my own co-workers. Most of the interactions I have with colleagues are Amtrak employees. So I get to the Amtrak station, board those first 2 people, have 7 other people in line, and the customer service rep comes out, starts putting luggage into the bus for me, and I have a lady standing right in front of me, kind of like where you are right now. Middle-aged, casual, regular dress. Now, it's super hot. It was like 105, 103 degrees outside, somewhere around 100. It's super hot, especially for us. We're normally only in the mid-80s. And customer service rep, let's call her Sally. Her name's not Sally. We're going to call her Sally. Sally says to me, I'd appreciate it if you would get her out of here for me. And I was like, what? This, not what I was expecting her to say. And I looked at her and she's like, I'd appreciate it if you would let her ride and get her out of here for me. She doesn't have a ticket. I was like, looking around and like, and I point, and she's like, yeah, that one, she's deaf. And I'm like, oh, like, okay, well, this kind of makes sense now while you're talking about this person in the third person. Now, mind you, at this point, I don't have the backstory. I have no idea what had happened prior to me arriving. Oh, it smells so good. It really does, you guys. Green, spicy, the citrus is perfect, the pine is perfect. I love pine, the eucalyptus in the top. This is a fantastic fragrance. And so I look at the lady, and she had an envelope in her hand, was starting to write something down. And she makes eye contact with me, and I say to her, you want to go to Portland? And she nods her head, yes. I have a fancy little handheld computer. It's basically an iPhone, but it's all the software on it is designed for what I'm doing, right? And so I hold up for a thing with Portland on it, and I point to it and say to her, you want to go to Portland Union Station? And she nods her head, yes. And so I take her luggage from her and hand it over to Sally, and I tell Sally, thank you, and start assisting the next couple of passengers. Now, I figured that this lady had went and got on the bus. I'm not paying any attention to her. I don't perceive her as a threat or anything at this point. She's just a regular 50-ish-year-old woman, right? Who's also deaf. In my cooler, I got my cooler right here. The Galactic Aloe Vera from Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements. So I assist the other passengers and still not paying attention to the deaf lady. And Sally had gone over by the building, and I could tell that she wanted to talk to me. So I finished boarding the passengers, and I noticed that the lady was still standing there, still not paying any attention to her at all. All I knew was what she had said to me about getting her out of there, and that she didn't have a ticket, which is fine. I have a policy basically that I let anybody and everybody, with exceptions to the rule, right? Quite a few exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, your average person, I will always let ride for free the first time. The second time, you better have a damn good excuse, and there's never a third time. So letting people ride, between me and you, right, the viewer, is something that, and my employers know this. But so like my radar, I'm not alert at all to this woman yet. So I go over and I start talking with Sally. And Sally is telling me about the crazy stuff that this woman was doing, throwing stuff around, slamming stuff around, that she had missed her 11 o'clock bus. I was the 1 something o'clock bus. The service runs every couple of hours. And, that cold aloe vera feels so good. As I'm talking to Corrine, and it still hasn't dawned on me that the lady is full on paying attention, because I'm talking to Corrine, trying to wrap it up, trying to get back on the bus and try to go. But clearly, hindsight, what she was doing was she was standing there anticipating Sally to, tell me about the things that had happened, and was standing there reading lips, I assume. So I'm standing there about as close as I am to you, speaking with Sally, and out of nowhere, the lady comes, reaches out, grabs Sally by the shirt, and starts to cock back, right? So as she starts to cock back, I grab her by the shoulder, and I don't know how well it ever comes through in any of my videos, but those who know me in my personal life know that I don't play around. I don't play games. I'm not saying that to sound tough or anything like that. I don't. And so she, goes to cock back, and, I grab her arm, or grab her by the shoulders, kind of like right here. I grab her, spin her around, and start pushing her towards my bus. And I, get her up inside the bus, and she's, flailing around. I look back at Sally, and I'm like, you're okay? And she nods her head, yes. Now, in most situations right there, I would have handled it totally differently. but because of what had already been said to me about getting her out of there, and this is a long story short, right? And a scrambled story short, me not focusing on what I'm doing. So I push her up into the bus, and she's still freaking out, doing hand gestures and whatnot. And one person in the bus goes, you know, she has a disability. And I look at that person like, I don't care what the disability is. You know, there's no excuse for what she's done. And I said to him, like, you know, if she was anybody else, I wouldn't be letting her ride, and we'd let Albany come, take care of it, and that's the local police department. And had it been not a middle-aged woman, and hadn't it been, you know, all these things going on that I didn't have the whole story of yet, I later in the day would get the whole story. And the lady had clearly had a bad day, and I'm glad, you know, I got her out of there and got her to Portland. But from that moment on, you know, I told her, you know, you need to calm down, doing hand gestures with her. You need to calm down. You need to go sit down. And so I was able to get her to go and sit down. She was cool the rest of the ride. But yeah, it was just one of those things that be alert, be aware of your surroundings. And, you know, when you're out in the woods, carry. You guys take care. It's the little big things, my friends, like coming home safe at the end of the workday, even if it's just things that you don't expect. I want to again thank Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements, Doug, Fran, and Hux for sending me the soap set. Once again, I didn't pay for it. It was sent to me for review. And the links to Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements in the description are affiliate links. It is the little big things, my friends. And the only thing that matters to me at the end of the day is treating everyone the same. I have a rule on my bus that, you know, the respect that you get is the respect that I'm given. And, yeah, so be kind to one another. You never know what the other person's going through. Life is short. Enjoy your dogs. Take care. Welcome to the B-roll. Trust the shave went well. It's from the burn of 2020. Miss Emily and Miss Athena. Athena is still guarding the water bowl. Right out here is the trail behind where my setup is here. There's the tripod and the mirror I was using. My stool. There's the trail right out here. If we hike it up a ways is where we run into that bridge where I did Avo Nice Shave. Miss Luna has brought me a ball. Can you drop it? Speak, tell everyone it's a little big things, and thanks for joining us. Doesn't matter how hot it is, this dog will keep going. Athena, on the other hand, she has the common sense to, you know, go with the flow, stop and smell the ferns. Take care, guys. Thanks again for joining us out here, and thanks again, PAA, for sending me Crabapple and Newton.